Above, above. What would he do? He parted the strip of red wool, half of it tied to the rock, half of it tied to its two horns, and pushed it backwards. It tumbled down, and before it reached halfway down the mountain, it was torn limb from limb. He would return and sit under the shade of the last booth until it became dark. And from one does he contaminate clothing? As soon as he gets outside the wall of Yerushalayim, Benjamin says, from the time he pushes him down to the precipice. He came to the axe and the he-goat which would be burned, and he tore them and removed their sacrificial parts. He put them in a plate, burned them upon the altar. He intertwined the limbs of the ox and the he-goat into twists and removed them to the place of burning. And from when do these people contaminate clothing? From when they go outside the wall of the courtyard. And Shimon says, from when the fire catches onto the greater part of the limbs. They said to the Kohen Gadol, the he-goat has reached the wilderness. How did they know that the he-goat had reached the wilderness? They set up watchposts and waved cloths, and thus they knew that the he-goat had reached the wilderness. The Yehuda said, but they had a dependable signal from Yerushalayim to the place of the he-goat shog peach. There was 3 mil. They walked a mill, returned the mill, and carried for the time it needed to walk a mill. Thus they knew that the he-goat had reached the wilderness. The Mishna says, but they did not have another. Did they not have another sign? A strip of red wool was tied atop the temple entrance, and when the he-goat reached the wilderness of the strip of the wool rightened, as had been said, even if your sins will be crimson thread, they will become white as snow.
All right.
That's
Very
really
exciting.
scary. That's really scary when you think about it. You're standing there and you see this wool turn from red to white. That's like, it's really,
I, the problem is that we'd probably just be a little, maybe dismissive of magic tricks, magic tricks. Because we see all these magic tricks of stage performers and whatever, and they
right,
do
right,
the
right.
most incredible stuff, and you think, oh wow.
But today that would be true today. I think then it wasn't probably as true. Like today, we're used to all this magic stuff, and I don't know if that,
Yeah.
it was a little strange. All right. You are
Yeah, we're on
wait,
Zion Aleph.
sign off. Okay.
Okay, Balo Kohen Gadol Likros. Okay, so now while all this is happening and the Sir Azazel is being taken out to the wilderness, it's time for the Kohen Gadol to read the Torah. Now, this is
Mm.
not part of the prescribed service in the Torah. It's just that it became customary to read these things from the
Mm.
Torah in the temple, just like it's customary for us to read on Yom Kippur morning. We have a Kriyas Torah, so they
Right.
did in the Mikdash. Okay, balo Kohen Gadol likros. Im ratza likros bevigdei but koreh v'im lo koreh be'itzlis lavan mishelo. So he's allowed to carry on wearing his white garments that he was wearing before. But if not, he is allowed to change into his own clothes, but they should be white. Just like nowadays, our custom is to wear white on Yom Kippur. That's for pretty much the same reason. Okay, so there's a whole ceremony. Chazan HaKnesses is basically the gabbai. Okay, so the gabbai of the Beis Hamikdash. Notel Sefer Torah. He takes the Sefer Torah, v'nosno leRosh HaKnesses, and he gives it to the chairman of the shul. The Rosh HaKnesses nosno leSagan, and he gives it over to the deputy Kohen. Hasagan nosno leKohen Gadol, and he hands it over to the Kohen Gadol. Now, this is all for the honor of the Kohen Gadol to show how many layers of management there are, who are
Right.
subservient to him. Um, okay. The Kohen Gadol omed mekabel v'korei omed. So the Kohen Gadol is standing. Now, interesting, you could read it that he gets up, which is a bit difficult to read because there's only one person who's ever allowed to sit in the Azara, and that's the king, a king from a base David. Okay,
Mm.
so even the Kohen Gadol is not allowed to sit in the Azara. So either you got to say that he was sitting in an area outside the Azara and then got up to come and receive the Torah, or else you got to say that he is just no. That's not like making any point about him being standing. It's just saying that he's standing there and he receives the Sefer's Torah and he reads it while he is standing. Okay. V'korei, what does he read? Then as now, Achremos.
Mm.
Okay. The Achbiasor, and furthermore, he reads onto Achbiasor. Achremos is obviously in Parshas Achremos, um, and Achbiasor is in Parshas Emor, which is just two parashas later. So he just rolls it for, it takes a couple seconds to roll the Sefer Torah to Achbi Asor. And then he rolls up the Sefer Torah and picks it up and holds it in his arms. The Omer, Yosem Mimashi Karasi Lifnechem Kasub Kan, and he says, furthermore, there's another parsha that's written here, to save in Tirchat the Tzibura, I'm not going to roll the Sefer Torah any further because that would be it would be called the Tirchat the Tzibura. So it's interesting, like on Yom Kippur, do you think the Tzibur is going to like break out in a riot if they take 1 minute to roll it over to Parshas Pinchas? I don't know, but I guess it is out of a respect to the tzibur that they don't keep them waiting. And he says, furthermore, what's written over here, and he recites by heart, Ubeasor shebechumash pekudim korei al peh. So he reads the parsha of the Musaf offering for Yom Kippur from Parshas Pinchas by heart. It's not a big parsha. It's not a difficult one to. And generally, we don't allow people to recite parashas of the Torah by heart. But in this case, for the Kavod Tzibur, it's allowed. Mevarech aleha shmone brachos, and he makes 8 brachas on the reading of the Torah. Okay, al haTorah, right? The Torah bracha itself. Al avoda, he makes a bracha, and it's actually stated in here. What's the al Torah? Kederech shemevarchim bebeis hakneses, right? So the same way that the same bracha that we make so Allah Torah is the same bracha that we make in the basic Knesset, Shebach Habanu, right? Al Avoda, it's the bracha of Ritzei Hashem Elokeinu, right, that we have right now. But the Chosam, instead of Hamachzir Shechina Solat Tzion, which doesn't make sense because they're in the Hashem doesn't have, if you're in the base of Mikdash, you don't say Hamachzir Shechina Solat Tzion, returning. What you're doing is Habocher be'avodas Amo Yisrael b'rachamim. Okay, so you choose he desires he chooses and desires the service of his nation Israel. Ala hoda, and he says a modim, okay, like in the Shemona Esrei, okay. Al mechilas ha'avon, of course it's Yom Kippur. He makes the bracha of slach lanu, and what's it? Mochel avonos amo Yisrael berachamim, like we said Yom Kippur. Al mikdash b'fnei atzma, and there's another bracha for the base of mikdash, which ends in shashachen b'tzion. And there's Al Yisrael B'fnei Atzman, and then there's bracha for Am Yisrael, which ends in Habocher Yisrael. And there's another bracha. It says over here in parentheses Al Yisrael B'fnei Atzma, which is according to a bracha in the Gemara. This is not. This is a mistake, and it should not be
I don't have
included.
that. I don't have that in mind over here. Let's see it. They said it was in
Okay.
parentheses. Yeah.
Yes, and you don't even have it. Okay, fine. So then ArtScroll took that seriously and just omitted it altogether. Okay, va'ala kohanim bifnei atzman makes a special bracha for all of the kohanim, which ends in Baruch Atah Hashem Mekadesh HaKohanim. Al Shara Tefillah, and another bracha for the rest of the tefillah, which is basically a Shomea Tefillah.
Yeah.
So those are the 8 brachas that he makes on the Sefer Torah. All right. The Mishnah here makes an observation, a technical observation. Haro'eh kohen gadol kasher koreh, eino ro'eh par v'sa'ir hanisrafim. If he chooses to sit and watch and listen to the kohen gadol reading the Sefer Torah, then he cannot watch the bull and the goat being burned outside the city. And the same goes in the reverse case. If you watch the other one, you cannot watch this one. I'm not sure why the Mishnah needed to mention both, because perhaps just to give an equivalence that it's that you could go, you have an option of going to either of them. But not that there's any Isser involved in watching them both. It's just practically impossible. And they're done at the same time. So if you want to watch parts of the avoda being done, you can choose either watch the Kohen Gadol reading from the Sefer Torah, or you can watch the bull and the goat being burned. Yeah. Mishnah Gimel. Back to our Kohen Gadol. In Bavigdei Butz Kore, if he's still wearing his clothing from when he was inside. Then Kidesh Yadav Raglav, then he has to wash his hands and feet. Every time he touches his clothes, either having put them on or taken them off. In order to remove his clothes, he also has to wash his hands again. Pashat Yarad v'Taval. He undresses, goes down into the mikveh, tovels, alav and istapag. He gets up and dries himself off. Heavy lo big days I have, and now he puts back on the gold clothing. Lavash v'kidesh yadav v'raglav. So he puts them on and again sanctifies his hands and feet with water. Yatsa v'asa es elo ves el ha'am. Now he comes back to the aisle. Okay, this is these are the ones that are brought as a korban ola, as it's written in the Torah. Barachat es besaro b'mayim b'makom kadosh v'lavash es big day begada v'yatsa v'yasa es olaso ves olasam. So these are the olos that are brought on the mizbech for the day. Okay. There's Shiva Sakvasim Tamimim B'nei Shana, and he brings the seven lambs that are brought for the Yom. Okay, Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. So says Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Kiva Omer Im Tamid Shel Shachar Hayu Craving. Now he says those are brought earlier. So also in the big days I have when he was bringing the morning Tamid. Par ha'ola v'sa'ir ha'naseh b'chutz hayu krevin im tamid shel bein ha'arbaim. He says no, but the goat that's done outside. So there's a goat that's done for a chatas that's separate from the seir mishtalech and the seir lashem. Okay, there's a separate goat that's brought as a chatas, and that's entire service is done outside on the outer mizbeach. Okay, and those are brought with the Tamid Shalbein Harbaim, and halacha is like Rabbi Akiva.
Okay.
Right. Yoma
Test. He then comes to the eastern part of the courtyard, north of the altar, the deputy Kohen to his right, the head of the family to his left. Two he-goats were there, and the lottery box was there, in which they put two lots. They formerly had been a boxwood, but Ben Gamla made him of gold, and they used to laud him. Ben Kantan made 12 spouts for the labor, and for he formerly only had two. He also made a machine for the labor so that his water should not become unfit by remaining overnight. King Mobaz made all the handles of the utensils used for Yom Kippur of gold. Helena, his mother, placed a golden candelabra over the entrance to the holy. She also made a golden tablet upon which the section of the Torah of the suspected adulteress was written. Nicanor, miracles happened to his doors, and they used to laud him. And for these they censored. Those of the Gamma family did not want to teach outsiders about making the pot of bread. Those of the Avitnas family did not wish to teach about making the incense. And Yugos Levi knew a special musical method but did not want to teach it. Ben Kamsar did not want to teach the method of writing. And the first one to said, the mention of the righteous man is a blessing, and about the others it is said, in the name of the wicked will rot. Okay. We are on to we have test 5. Says Rabbi Yeshua, I have heard that the substitute of a Pesach offering is offered, and that the substitute of a Pesach is not offered, but I cannot explain it. Rabbi Akiva said, I will explain. If the original Pesach offering was found, before the slaughtering of the substitute Pesach, it must be left to pasture until it develops a blemish. It is then sold, and a peace offering is brought with its proceeds, and so this is the rule regarding a substitute. But if it was found after the slaughtering of the substitute Pesach, it is offered as a peace offering, and so it is the rule regarding the substitute. If someone designates a female animal for a Pesach offering or a male in its second year, he must be left to pasture until it develops a blemish and is sold, and its money is placed in the donative offering chest. If one had designated his Pesach offering and then died, his son who inherits it may not bring it as a Pesach offering, but rather as a peace offering. If the Pesach offering was all confused with other offerings, they must all be left to pasture until they develop blemishes and are sold. Then he should bring this type of offering equivalent in value to the best of them, and he should bring the other type of offering equivalent in value to the best of them, and he must cover the added cost from his own purse. If it was confused, the first one offerings, Reb Shimon says if the group is composed of Kohanim, they may eat the offerings. Okay. And Shabbos. We may go out with a locust egg or the fox tooth or the nail from a gallows for the purpose of healing, and these are the words of Meir. comments say even on weekdays they are forbidden because of the prohibition against following the ways of the Amorites. A major rule was stated by the comment concerning the Sabbath. Anyone who forgot the essence of the Sabbath and performed many labors on Sabbath is liable for but one sin offering. One who knew the essence of Sabbath and performed many labors on many Shabbats is liable for every Sabbath. And one who knew that it is Sabbath and performed many labors on many Sabbaths is liable for every primary category of labor. One who knew that it is Shabbos and performed many labors of one category of labor is liable for but one sin offering. The primary labors are 40 minus 1: sowing, plowing, reaping, gathering together, threshing, winnowing, sorting, grinding, sifting, kneading, and baking, shearing wool, whitening it, combing it, dyeing it, or spinning, mounting the warp, setting to heddles, weaving to threads, moving to threads, tying a knot and untying a knot, sewing two stitches and tearing in order to sew two stitches, chopping a deer, slaughtering it, skinning it, salting it, tanning its hide, smoothing it, cutting it, writing two letters and erasing in order to write two letters, the building, demolishing, extinguishing, and kindling, striking the final blow, and transferring objects from one vein to another. These are the primary labors, 40 minus 1. Okay.
Okay.
And it's good. It is the base. Okay.
Base valve.
Is well, it went good. The shell of a lightly roasted egg is a connection until one cuts it, but the shell of an overcooked egg is a connection until he crushes it. A bone that is marrow in it is a connection until one crushes it, and the peel of a pomegranate that is once separated is a connection until he beats it on with a stick. Similarly, the bastings of launderers and garment that is sewn with kalayim is a connection until he begins to undo it. The green leaves of onions combine, but white leaves do not combine. Reb Eliezer, the son of Sid Reb Zadok, says the white leaves combine in the case of karabi, but they are food. And in the case of lettuce, they protect the food. Regarding the leaves of onions and the stalks of onions, they contain sage, and they must be measured as they are. But if they contain a hollow, one must compress the hollow, and sponge bread is measured as it is. It contains a hollow, and one must compress the hollow. Regarding the meat of a calf that swelled and the meat of an old animal that shrank, they are measured as they are. Okay.
Okay.
We have I don't know if you heard, but Dan Rosenfeld, his son, and they had a boy the other
Oh,
day
Mazel Tov.
on Sukkot. So they didn't know. They didn't know the second day. They had no idea. So that they are having. I can let you know what time if you want to. They're going to have a Shalom Zucker Friday night. So I'll let
Oh,
you know.
that's wonderful news. Thank you. Thank you for telling me that.
The comments, Levana, the Kataris, the Minka of Kohanim, and the Minka of the anointed Kohen, and the libation Minka are subject to Me'ilah when they are consecrated. Once they're consecrated in the sacred vessel, they become prepared to be disqualified through contact with the Tel Yom, through contact with the Mekusa Kapurim, or through remaining past their time. One is liable on their account for Nosa Tome, for Pigel does not apply to them. This is the general rule. Any sacrificial item that is permitted, one is not liable on its account for Pigel, Nosa, or Tome until the permitteds have been offered. Any sacrificial item that does not permit us as soon as they are consecrated as a sacred vessel, one is liable on its account for nosa, tame, or pigol does not apply to it. And the offering of a katos, the tamor of a katos, and the katos whose owners have died are left to die. Regarding a katos whose year is past, the one that was lost and then found blemished, if the owners have atoned for the sin, if it led to die and it does not make a tamora. It is to begin to benefit, but is not subject to Me'ilah. But if before the owners have atoned for their sin, it is left to graze until it develops a blemish, it is then sold and the owner purchases another katos with its proceeds, and the original katos makes the tamor and is subject to Me'ilah. Regarding one who set aside money for Naziris, his Naziris offerings, the money is not permitted for benefit, but is not subject to Me'ilah, since all the money is fit to be brought in as a shlomin. If the Nazir died and the money was unspecified, it falls into the fund for voluntary offerings. If the money was specified, the money designated for the katos should go to the Dead Sea, and that money is not permitted for the benefit, but is not subject to Me'ilah. If the money designated for the Olah, they should bring an Olah, and with the money designated for the Shlomin, they should bring a Shlomin, and the Shlomin may be eaten for one day and does not require the company bread. Okay. And we are on to Baba Kama. I think we're finishing today. No, maybe tomorrow. Okay. Yud Gimel. If one recognizes his utensils or his books in another's possession and a report of theft has gone forth in the city concerning him, the purchaser must swear how much he paid. If he receives it, otherwise it does not avail him, for I say he sold them to another, and this one purchased them from him. If this one came with his barrel of water and wine, and this one came with a barrel of honey, and the jug of honey cracked, and this one spilled onto his wine and saved the honey in it, he is entitled only to his wage. But if he said, I will save yours and you will pay me for mine, he is obligated to pay him. If a river swept away his donkey, and another's donkey is being worth 100 zuz and the other's 200, and he left his and the others saved the others, he's entitled to only his wage. But if he said to him, I will save yours and you will pay for mine, he is obligated to pay him. One who robs another of his field and tyrants take it. If it is a plague of the province, he must say to him, here is your property before you. But if it is because of the robbery, he must provide him with another field. And if a river inundated, he may say to him, here's your property before you.
That's actually
Okay. All right, we have I
uh,
think 2 days left to finish
yeah,
this.
yeah. So Bava Kama obviously moves on to Bava Metzia. It's all one big Masechta. Bava
Right,
Batra,
I know.
Bava Kama, Metzia, Basra is it's one Masechta called Nezikin, which is just broken into three gates.
Okay, good. Have a
Okay,
great day. Enjoy.
you
And
too.
if I hear any information about the bris, the bris, I guess I'll let you know the story. Oh, the bris is
Okay,
when I think the bris is Tuesday morning. I think. Yeah,
amazing.
we'll be. I'll let you know.
Okay,
Okay. Have a great day.
well
Thank
done.
you.